Songwriters, home studio music producers, this one's for you. If you're not making the music you want to make, if it always feels like you're taking one step forward and two steps back, if everything about the music production process seems to take forever, I've got a solution. This is the answer I would give to the common question, what's one piece of advice you would give to the aspiring home studio music producer? If you're serious about making the music you were born to make, there's one specific shift you need to make in your thinking, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Joe Gilder. I've been running this channel, Home Studio Corner, since 2009, and the focus here is to help coach musicians on how to make great sounding music in a home recording studio, much like this one. I've personally released, last I counted, 68 songs of my own music, so I got a lot of experience doing this. Okay, so what's the problem we're facing here? You've got this disconnect. You've got a desire to create music, but you're not creating music. And you feel this kind of angst because you've already invested money in buying all this equipment and instruments and stuff for your studio. You've invested a lot of time into learning how to use all this stuff, and it feels like you've got nothing to show for it. That sucks. And there's lots of reasons why that might be happening, but there's really only one solution. And the solution isn't, by the way, buying more gear, although gear can be fun and inspiring. The solution isn't to spend more time practicing. Did that surprise you? Practice matters, of course, but that's not really the solution. And the solution isn't even to buy my courses. What? Although my courses can help speed up your progress tremendously, those are not the solutions. We're going to talk about what the solution is today. And just to be honest, you might not like it, but it's the solution. I encourage you to just hear me out. All right, so there are three phases when it comes to making music in a home studio. You got the preparing phase, you've got the doing phase, and then you've got the done phase. So let's talk about these real quickly. Preparing. Obviously, you weren't born knowing how to use your recording software or a microphone or an EQ or compression. So you obviously need to spend time preparing yourself and learning how to use those things. Necessary, but if you stay here, you're keeping things pretty safe, right? This is safe. Sitting and learning doesn't risk much, right? Kind of like practicing my guitar versus playing in front of an audience. One of these is safer than the other. The next phase is a little bit better. This is where you're actually doing something. So instead of just learning, instead of just acquiring information and knowledge, you're stepping out into actually doing the thing. This is where you're doing some practice. This is better, but this is still pretty safe too. If you're always just doing stuff and working on stuff, I get tired of people telling me, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. Are you? You've been working on that for 3 years now. When's it going to be done? This right here, this is the name of the game. This is what you're missing. Most musicians, sadly, get stuck on these two. They get stuck on preparing, learning, organizing, figuring things out, trying to get everything in their brains the way it needs to be. Sometimes they just stay here and they just prepare for years. Then they might finally jump into doing, but because the emphasis is just on doing and they feel nice when they go sit in their studio and they click around for a few hours, that they feel like they've done something. They feel like they've been productive, but they haven't really because you have no product by the end. Productive means there's a product by the end. There's something that has been created, and that doesn't happen until you get to done, until you actually finish something. So here's a big, bold statement. Write this one down if you're a note taker. You only get better by finishing songs. Maybe you've heard this story of a teacher in a pottery class. People who've never made pottery before. He divides the class up into two groups. He tells the first, you're going to be graded on the best piece of pottery you can produce in the semester. The second group, he tells, you're going to be graded by the sheer quantity of pottery that you create. I do not care if it's good. I just want you to create a whole bunch, and we're going to weigh it. And if you've made a certain amount, you will get an A. So one group was graded on quality, one group was graded on quantity. Here's the kicker, you probably know how this goes already. The group that focused on quantity, just making a bunch of, coffee cups and urns or something, they actually made better quality pottery than the group that focused just on quality. Why? Because they finished things. This group over here was focusing on maybe preparing and doing. I've got a whole semester to make the perfect pot. This group over here focused on done. They did a whole bunch of done, and they actually made better stuff in the process. That is fascinating to me. I never get tired of that story. So what does this mean for you? What's the takeaway? The big takeaway, the part that you're not going to like that I mentioned earlier, is you've got to allow yourself to make bad songs. That's it. Your 100th song will be so much better than your first song. So let me throw a scenario out at you. Let's say you have two options. Option 1, you spend 10 years on your first song. Option 2, you finish 10 songs in the first year. Which would you rather do? Everyone will pick option 2. Why? Because it's obvious that if I finish 10 songs, I'm going to be way better than if I take 10 years working on one song. There's that Guns N' Roses album they spent 14 years on. And it's not their best album, but they spent 14 years. It should be 14 times better than someone who spent 1 year on their album, right? No, of course not. That's not how this works. You get better by finishing, so the more you finish, the better you'll get. And if your 100th song will be better than your first song, why would you spend any length of time on that first one? Just get it to done as soon as possible and move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. That's how you get better. So am I just spouting off like theory that I read in a book? No, this has been my experience, and I'll give you an example. So I've been on this YouTube channel since 2009. So that's currently a little over 16 years. My first full 12 months on YouTube, I got 71,000 views. 71,000, not bad. My last year from now, the last 12 months on YouTube, 2.4 million views. I did the math. That's 33 times as many views. Am I 33 times better? I don't know, because those first videos were terrible, but I've gotten better by consistently posting every week for 16 years. Guess what? You can't help but get better when you put in that kind of focus on a whole bunch of done. Now imagine, this is a ridiculous scenario, but imagine I sat down in 2009 and said, I'm going to script the most perfect audio tutorial ever scripted. And I decided I'm going to put that tutorial out in 2025. 16 years from now, I will have created the perfect piece. Do you think it would have been perfect? Do you think anyone would have watched it? No, because no one's watching because I haven't made anything. So by making things, I get better. By focusing on done. I didn't focus on working on videos. I didn't create a bunch and get them all halfway started and get them almost to the finish line and then move on to the next one. I finished them and I shipped them, meaning I put them out into the world. And by doing that, I got better. A lot of people get really good at starting things, but they don't do the finishing part. And finishing is where all the growth happens. That last 10% of a project, you learn so much about the entire process because you're finally putting a bow on everything. And then you learn lessons about mastering, recording, production, performance, songwriting, because you took the song all the way through to the finish line and you take all those learnings with you to the next one. That's why this works so well. Speaking of finishing, if you have not checked out my VIP membership, now's the time to check it out. You can come take it for a free test drive. You could call VIP a finishing school because that's what we do. We focus on finishing and getting things done. It's a safe place for you to work on music and to actually get in the habit of what it feels like to finish. And guess what happens? You get better and better over time. I've seen it happen over and over again. Come check it out for yourself. Take it for a free test drive. homestudiocorner.com/VIP. That's it for this video. I hope this inspired you to go do something. Leave a comment and let me know if there was an unlock for you today. I'd love to hear about it. And if you haven't seen this video, it goes in a similar direction, but with a really interesting story about how I changed my songwriting forever with this one little exercise. You can watch that next. Thanks for watching. See ya.